but he decided that
hello, you are watching The Professional Artist. You're listening to The Professional Artist on 107.7 United Public Radio. This is Echo Chernik, and I'm here with Nigel Sade and Mo the dog, who is a big fan of Bob Ross. We were just talking about
there he is.
Where's Mo? So
there's Mo.
And if you're on YouTube, you can come watch Mo at youtube.com/Echo Chernik, which Mo's awesome. He drools a lot, and he seriously loves Bob Ross. I mean, this dog, I've never met anyone that loves Bob Ross.
It's ASMR for him or something like that. I have no idea. Like you just put on Bob Ross, and he's like entranced. Now, it turns out, from what I understand, it's not just Bob Ross. Okay, it's like anything. I was doing a podcast thing where I was painting, or it was podcast video, whatever. I don't know what you call them. But the
videos are apparently now called podcasts.
Are they? Okay. All right. Well, I was doing a podcast then. I was painting and so on and so forth. And I was talking while I was painting, and he was just entranced during that too. Like, Kate had put it on while I was doing that. So it's just like he just likes listening to people talk, I think. In a you're not entirely paying attention to me sort of way, as you're painting, you're not really talking to anybody, you're just kind of talking, and if there are people hearing you, okay, cool,
and you're painting.
That's what Bob Ross is doing. You know what I mean? He's talking to the painting, which in turn is supposed to be talking to you. I have no idea, but yeah. So that's my cat, Livy, or Oblivious, she is a huge Markiplier fan. She likes to play Markiplier play games. She just I just put Markiplier on, and she's just like, what's going on? And so, yeah, just sit in her cat tree and watch Markiplier. So, but gaming cat. But anyway, so let's talk about the studio animals. So, So how you doing today, Nigel? I am alive.
All right.
Or so I tell people.
No, it's good. Fair to middling. So
fair to middling. Better than a kick in the face.
So today, I guess we're going to talk about how we make a living versus how we do our own personal art and make time for both. And how do we figure out how to make a living doing something we love?
Yeah.
So find a niche or a niche.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that you worked in advertisement for a long time, right?
I still do advertising illustration. I actually love advertising illustration.
Yeah.
I love doing package design. I love doing advertising work. Right. I still have a rep in New York City that calls me up for jobs, and I love doing that. And that's what I mean by being happy with jobs that pay the bills, because when they call me up with a job that is an advertising job, and they're like, hey, we need you to do this package design, I'm like, woo, fun. It's a challenge. And I like that just as much as, doing my own Patreon pieces or doing, fun stuff. It's just different. It's different. It pays the bills, and it lets me do my fun stuff too. But it's not, I don't find it grueling. There's some work that you get that's grueling, and you don't want to be doing that. You're like, oh God, I don't want to do this. I don't know, book cover art or whatever. So it's nice to be able to find some sort of work that pays the bills and is fun, as well as doing your personal work.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you do?
So I don't work a lot for companies. I've done a little bit of here and there for companies, but just mostly to stay relevant. You do a little bit here for like.
But you do your personal work, and then you do stuff at shows that is specifically targeted towards different genres.
Yeah, so that all started as an art statement. So I like all the fandoms, you know what I mean? Like those, like I enjoy all of it, and it's part of who I am. I grew up playing role-playing games and things like that. Every time that we would play Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, I would draw all the characters, and much to everybody's either joy or dismay, depending on whether or not they liked what I did. And that was sort of it's always been an intrinsic part of my art. Like I've always been that guy that loves the fantastical and stuff like that. But I've always also been the guy that does what I want and not what other people want me to do. And I've never been good at doing what you want. Yeah. And so I do. Okay, Andy Hop. You know Andy.
Yeah.
So Andy was around when I first started. Okay, like I met Andy at Origins in like 1998, I think, or something like that.
Is it really like the 50th anniversary of Origins this year?
Oh my God, I have no idea. Yeah, well, that's going on right now. Yeah,
I read that on like your website.
Yeah, if you were in Columbus, Ohio, go to Origins and say hello to my daughter Zaya and Becca, my one of my assistants. So yeah,
because I read that on your website. It's the 50th. That Zaya's there, and it's the 50th anniversary. And I was like,
50th anniversary. Yeah, exactly. I mean, 50 years of that kind of thing. And so like that's to me. Like so, I met Andy there, okay?
Yeah.
And
so
I bought a piece of artwork from him, and we got to talking, and he was like, and I was like, because I live in Kent, Ohio at the time. I was like, I live in Kent. He goes, oh, I live in Akron. We should hang out sometime. And I took him up on that offer, And so I went to his house, and I kind of built my entire portfolio while I was there.
And I think I met you at Origins.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So Andy, at one point in time, he says to me, draw me a dragon. So I started drawing this dragon, and then it kind of turned into this pirate that was sliding down from a crow's nest. All right. And he was like pulling his sword out as he was coming down the crow's nest, like he was going to get the jump on people that were below. There were like these hash marks that were on the actual crow's nest itself. There was this fort off in the distance and stuff like that. And I was done with it then, and I was like, boom, what do you think? And he's like, that's not a dragon. And I said, yeah, but, and then I went into the discussion, I was like, listen, it's about this. This guy's got really good hearing, but like, he's up in the crow's nest. He knows that the guys are going to turn on him. So he's coming down, and that's like the number of days that he's been like on watch up there, and stuff like that. He just has no respect for the crew, blah, blah, blah. And he's finally going to get his revenge, that kind of a thing. That was the whole story that was going on behind it. And he goes, no, listen, I like it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's really cool. It's very creative. It's just that if I had hired you to draw me a dragon, I would have effing fired you, And I was like, I don't think I'm an illustrator. He goes, no, I don't think you're an illustrator either. And that's that was that moment, that was before I really started. That was the moment where I just decided that I was going to do, at least in some part, the things that I wanted to do, and hopefully people were going to kind of come with me on that journey. And luckily, that worked out okay. But like it was a gamble, in a lot of ways. And again, luckily I have a very unique style. So,
But you also have your very personal pieces, and then you have your Star Wars pieces.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean. Yeah. So the personal pieces were what I built the career on. I built like the modern day atrocities and the 7 deadly sins that I did and stuff like that. And I absolutely adored doing the paintings. I got about 10 more paintings that I'm working on right now. Half of these walls are covered in them. But and so like I'm hoping to do more of those. But for a long time, I was doing things like emblems, like superhero emblems, or I was doing like this emblem for this thing, because I did this symbolic abstract work that I'd really enjoyed doing. And some people really liked that. So I did things in that style to kind of bring, and like clockwork, people would look up and they go, oh, it's Superman or Spider-Man or something like that. And they'd come over and then they'd walk away with like, make me pretty, or something along those lines, because really the Superman, Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff really weren't my signature pieces. They weren't technically as brilliant as the things that I was doing in paint. And so that worked out like that in the beginning. So like I said, the paintings are what kind of built the who I am in the eyes of the people. And then one day I drew this Millennium Falcon. Sorry, no. It was a TIE fighter. So I took the Imperial logo, all right, which was that cog, all right, and then I put 2 wings off to either side, okay, and I made it into a TIE fighter because I thought that was clever or something. Yeah. And everybody loved it. So I did another one that was a Millennium Falcon. It was the rebel symbol that had like the Falcon bits that came off of it. And everybody loved that. And then like somebody was like, "Hey, could you do an Enterprise?" So I did an Enterprise, and then like I decided to kind of change everything when I did the Enterprise, and I sort of made more of a like taking layers and sort of stacking them on top of each other, and I made the Enterprise. And then I got to thinking about how it very much had this very Art Deco feel to it, and as I'm sure you know, the meaning behind the Art Deco movement was the vision of the future, you know. Mm-hmm. So like the Chrysler building was the building of the future, the bullet train was the train of the future, you know, and stuff like that. But today that's kind of impossible. So the entire mode of all of the starships and stuff like that I do is that I wanted to create a modern day Art Deco. All right. Because it's impossible now to see the future without seeing it through the lens of your science fiction. You know, right. When you think about the future, you're always going to think, is it going to be like Star Wars? Is it going to be like Doctor Who? Is it going to be like, Star Trek, Firefly, like any of these kinds of things, when you think about fantasy and stuff like that, that's more of like the Art Nouveau sort of thing. So like the new style that I'm working on right now is kind of going into more of the Art Nouveau sort of aspect of things and talking about the personal sort of explosion that goes into the actual piece itself. So that I think that's where my career was built, was in this idea of providing this industry, this area, which had generally been, this thing looks cool,
Yeah.
Like everybody would kind of show up and go, oh, that looks cool, but still making things that look cool, but also like folding into that some meaning that that I explicitly talk about, the meaning's always been there. People are always, folding things into their paintings and stuff like that. But for some reason, artists just don't like to talk about it. Like I feel like they think that they're going to like influence the art or whatever, and stuff like that. But like,
I think people like when artists talk about it. I mean,
I think they do too. Right. Exactly. And so when you bring an emotional connection, then you have an emotional connection with the people that collect your artwork. Well,
that's what makes it different than AI, is that you're actually designing it with a purpose. You're like, I did this because it's, it's Art Deco, and for all those reasons you just explained, as opposed to just like, beep boop, I just stole it from a bunch of different artists and put it together, and this is what it looks like.
And you and like Lydia Burris or Laura Sidek and all of these people who kind of were outside of the standard sci-fi fantasy mold, that was, and again, the thing is that we came into an industry that was already built on sci-fi fantasy. We had Larry, we had Larry Elmore, and Jeff Easley, and Todd
Caldwell,
Todd Caldwell, all these people. And so like you've got all of these guys that are just these gods of that industry, these huge named people that like have built everything that influenced you and I to be who we are today. And they built this world, where fantasy was like, it was okay to paint. It was all right to do that,
I know.
And in their own way, they had their own meanings and stuff like that. But we just took it a little further. We decided to now start to bridge that gap between the gallery artist and the fantasy artist. You know, like there's more of a connection between that, and I think that is where we talk about the emotion that we put into the work.
Which is, yeah, I guess that's sort of where the fantastic realism style is, I guess, except we're not really realistic. But you know,
yeah.
But that's I guess that's the fine art version of fine art. You know?
Well, and
fantasy art.
I remember. Do you remember back in the day when we used to get into all those arguments about fine art versus illustration and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, and the thing is that like I appreciate everybody like arguing with, because you know you have these things in your head and you think to yourself, okay, well, what do I mean by that? You know, and over the years, I refined that argument to be what I actually meant. You know, like I was never saying there was a separation between these two groups of people in any meaningful sort of fashion. It was just, what are you doing with your art? You know, are you illustrating a thing or are you illustrating an emotion? And that's your spectrum that you live on. You know, you got your person who drew just the thing. That's your technical designers, you know, and stuff like that. Those people, like architects even, you know what I mean, fall into that category. And then as you get over here, you've got your abstract impressionist who is really not interested in the form at all. Okay. And so, but between the two of them, and they're only interested in the emotion, you know, but then as you kind of go that way, then like we exist somewhere in the middle, you know.
Somewhere in the middle, yeah. I'm definitely an illustrator. I love illustrating. Even when I do my own pieces, I love illustrating. But I like, one of the things I couldn't get myself to do the fan art thing at shows. To cater. Everybody always wanted me to do like they're always like, do like Art Nouveau Wonder Woman, do Art Nouveau this, and I always wanted to, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. I don't know. I just didn't. It didn't excite me.
The secret thing that like for me, you know, it's hard because you don't want to like. There's a feeling of like selling out or something like that, I guess, you know, in a lot of ways. But when you're doing things like doing an Art Nouveau version of it or doing like an Art Deco version of it, you have an artistic mode that you're attempting to express with this character and whatnot. And so that, well, both morally, I think, and legally, keeps people, you know, safer. You know, when you're doing things that is you expressing that thing. You know?
I probably should have, but I just didn't like the idea of people coming up and buying Wonder Woman rather than buying my art. You know, I like
you know, I did too. But like, and again, and I can see that because because what you would be doing wouldn't have a separation. Like I have two styles of art. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've got the paintings, the fine art style, which doesn't really fall over into this other area. And then I have this other area, that symbolic abstract work that like I reserve for being able to do that kind of thing. Now I've begun to kind of try to merge those two things together in order to sort of show a progression. But like, you know, I mean, I think that's the beauty of that paradigm is that every artist is going to have lean times, you know.
Yeah.
And part of that lean time is the what's the best way to say, like the layperson's view of art. Like, I mean, the fantasy art thing is still there, you know what I mean? Like people are still at their core, you know, those 14-year-old boys and girls that were like, oh, that looks super cool, you know, like that's like part of who we are, you know. And giving people an outlet for that, I think, is where that becomes, And I mean, you do the same thing, like you did the Cthulhu, the pies and stuff like that. Like that's the same concept. It's just whereas I do
that came in a dream.
Yeah, right.
That was weird.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like doing, this starship. You've got like, this almost there's a comedic value, that goes along with that piece, and that's sort of the same. They're kind of part and parcel to one another, we all do it. It's just where is your, where what is your mode? What do you like doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to pick stuff that you like doing. You're definitely, and you're talking about when times get lean, and this is definitely an interesting time for artists right now. A lot of artists are having to adjust what they're doing to
very strange. Like I've noticed that like the large kind of behemoths of shows are still really, really good and lucrative for us. But the smaller shows have become a lot less lucrative.
It's very strange. I just started my show season because you do more shows than I do. And I noticed like Emerald City Comic Con was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was like, whoa. But other people were like, oh, it was worse than I thought. But I was like, wow, that was better than I thought. Of course, my expectations were low. Yeah. But then I noticed a whole bunch of us got waitlisted for next year. We're like, what the heck? Which sucks.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like the whole block I was in got waitlisted for next year. And so now we're all like, oh, come on. So I finally got onto the second floor where you are with the artists, and now I'm waitlisted again.
Oh, Jesus.
So I know, right? But yeah, that's definitely a better place for the artists. But I've done that. The smaller shows haven't been great. I haven't done a lot of the bigger shows yet. This year so far. We'll see how Gen Con does. Hopefully it does good. It's a weird year, and I've noticed a lot more artists are saying they're getting back into shows and they're trying to figure out how to adjust to make up for everything that's going on. Everybody's scrambling. I've gotten requests from other artists looking for advice, saying, oh, I need to get back into shows. Do you have any advice? Or what show should I get into? Or where will my art sell well? What should I do?
That's interesting. I would imagine that's probably because all of the economic uncertainty that's going on right now has led to less companies wanting to buy things.
Yeah.
And so like now we're left to try to figure out who we are, outside of that paradigm,
Well, with the tariffs and everything, they're usually making the art about now for all the stuff to, get in around October to sell for Christmas time. But because of that, all the companies have had to go, well, I don't think I can afford it at 145%. So we're just not going to do that line this year. And so there's going to be a lot less product, which means that there wasn't the art to do. So all the artists are like, wait a minute, why don't I have any art to illustrate? What the heck? And so it's just this, reverberating thing that's just gone down the line.
Yeah. When you work as a contract worker, I mean, that's when the contracts dry up, it's like, what do you do? At that point, which is I'm really grateful that like I feel like that's a thing that I can talk about, is the non-contract side of things,
which is important. Yeah, because I've started doing more shows, and I started doing the cat pieces, which do well. Because they're more mainstream, and there
you go. And the cat pieces are very similar to like the starships. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You're catering to a clientele.
You're catering to a clientele, but when you pick something that's going to cater to a clientele, you have to pick something as an artist that you like. I can't just be like, I'm gonna do stuff.
Sorry, it's right here.
What?
Oh no, sorry. I pointed over here. Because with the cameras here.
I see. I can't be like, I think I'll do Star Wars stuff now because I don't want to do Star Wars stuff. I just don't want to. And it's going to show in my work. It's going to be like, oh, wow, that looks uninspired. So, you got it. But I like drawing cats. I like drawing women. There's certain things that, so if you got to pick something that you're going to draw, you got to really pick something that you like, that the public will like, that's more mainstream. So, hey, Paul. So sorry, go ahead.
I talk about like I know so much about these science fiction things. Like I am a super fan of things. Like I have entire storylines for Doctor Who that I have in my head that like that I hope that someday they do. They won't probably, but maybe they will. I've been sending them letters going, listen, I don't care, just do it. All right, like I don't want any money. Just put it in there. It'd be cool. Because that's what I love. Like I want to see the stories and stuff like that. I like the philosophical sort of back end to these stories and that kind of thing. And I love that we are now again across the board, like every single aspect of art has finally started to really pay attention to the emotional output that they need to have in the artwork because of AI, I think,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with AI doing the thing, I worry about all my friends that are just purely illustrators. You know what I mean? Like being an illustrator is awesome, but like an illustration is something that can be replicated, and as those things become more and more good at what they do, it's going to get harder and harder for us to compete with that aspect of things. But having that emotional connection to the artwork and being able to be the one that sits there and talks about how you were feeling when you did the thing, like who you were at the time, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Like that's what's going to continue,
So you're saying it's like the people that are generically illustrating characters or Batman, Superman, or whatever. Those are the ones that are going to be easier to replace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Comics
about it.
Yeah, the comics are going to have to really rely heavily on the connection between the emotion in the writing and the connection between the emotion in the imagery as well. So like those things are going to need to be synergized a lot more than they ever had to be in the past, because we need to step up our game to like make sure that we stay ahead of that AI curve. Now, I mean, luckily you can't copyright it right now. You know what I mean? And that's kind of keeping all of us a little safe. But a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Until like they start building, like, I mean, but the practical upshot of that is like Disney's going to build their own learning model database, essentially. So like everything that you sell to Disney ends up going into a database that Disney will eventually be allowed to use because they own all of it to create AI models of things that they want. So once that database becomes large enough, then Disney will dry up a bit when it comes to Disney, and those kinds of places are going to dry up a little bit for as far as, because you can copyright something that you own all of the data that
which means if you sold Disney some of your art with your style, they could just pump it into their system and own it, and then replicate things in your style.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, Paul's here. So
hey,
yeah, Paul's
great, man.
Paul says he never wants to give in to painting Batman. And then you said he's found a real love for teaching art. The feeling is wonderful.
Honestly, Paul, I've been watching you and I miss you, man. I miss you. I miss hanging out with you. I miss going to your parties every year at MegaCon.
I know. I was talking to Paul about his parties.
Yeah. Are you honestly, if you do another one during the MegaCon times, you gotta let us know so that we can all come and hang out with you again.
We should have a MegaCon party. When's the next MegaCon?
We should.
I would come down to MegaCon just to go to your party.
Yeah. And honestly, MegaCon turned into a weirdly amazing show over the years. I have no idea why.
The last time I did it wasn't so good, but then I haven't done it for years, so maybe it's picked up.
It was just after the pandemic. After the sorry, is that a bad word? Is that a bad word? I hope not.
No, that's okay. Pandemic is okay.
Okay.
You can say pandemic.
Okay, so just after that, we saw like a huge spike in the like doubled the amount of sales that we were making at MegaCon. And it just kind of stayed that way. We thought it was going to be just a blip, like a year or two after and Bob's your uncle, and then we'll be out. But no, it stayed that way. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So no, I didn't.
Yes. Paul said we will.
I know.
But
when did you meet Paul?
God, oh my! You know what? I met Paul in 2004, I believe. So I started my career in 2003. MegaCon was, God, those were such crazy times. I had met Jenny, and I was in the comic, and then so I started doing more shows in like those regions and stuff like that, and I went to what FX show. So back in the day, Mark Hammond ran FX show, which was another show in Florida and whatnot. Okay, Tom. Hi, sweetie. I'm online with Echo. So, FX show was like another one of those. And Mark Hammond, who is, if you guys don't know Mark Hammond, he is the man. He is awesome. He is made of, if you stack awesome to about, I think it's like 6'3" or something like that, you get Mark Hammond. All right. So at any rate, Mark is Mark. If you know Art Balthazar and all that whole crew and Franco.
Yeah.
So Mark runs the New York comic shop for Art and Franco. And he's just a lovely guy. He was the guy that like set up the FX show. And so I met him there, and then he told me about MegaCon. So I went and I did MegaCon, and that's where I met Paul, was that first year. And honestly, it was just, he was such an inviting human, you know what I mean? Like, here I am, this weird ass looking dude, up, and Paul's like, "Hey, you should come to my party." And I was like, "I am gonna come to your party." And so I did, and then the rest is history,
That is kind of Paul in a nutshell.
Yes.
So we should go down to make it kind of do that again. But all right, so what were we talking about? We were talking about
the shift in emotional content being necessary to battle AI.
Yeah, and and figuring out a balance, and without killing your creative spirit.
Yeah, honestly, I think.
Yay, hold on. I think here we go, Paul. Hey,
Paul, how's it going, man?
I sucked Paul in, so
yeah. Man, I miss you.
Oh, I miss you guys. I miss the whole thing, man. I just been not doing much. Actually, I got a big show, the biggest show I've ever done right now going on.
Oh, really? What is it?
Yeah, I'm down in the. Oh gosh, am I got the feedback?
Little bit. We have Paul Vincetti on, who have had on the show before.
My YouTube.
Forgot what episode. But awesome episode if you look back through the archives. He's trying to fix his feedback right now here.
There we go.
All right. Yeah.
How about that? Now I'm not.
That's better.
There you go.
No, I got a big show. I'm doing a gallery show down in Bonita Springs. As a matter of fact, my first contact down in that area was via you, Echo, with Shelby.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Gallery, down in that gallery down there. But a buddy of mine moved to Fort Myers, and then there's this big arts complex called Arts Bonita, and it's been around for a long time. And I'm doing a 6-week show. Premiere was last Thursday. I got the most pieces I've ever had in one show. It's just all my work, and I got 50 botanicals, 50.
Wow. How did you get that? How did you get that show?
A friend of mine hooked me up with it. He's an art promoter and stuff down there. A buddy of mine named Rodney. So
Okay.
he picked me up, and then I found out through them that they needed an airbrush teacher. So I'm gonna be doing 2 workshops down there, one in November and one in April. Doing workshops teaching at Bonita Springs, and I've been teaching at Sam Flax here in town. So the teaching is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Nigel, you don't do any teaching, do you?
No, I mean I have, but I haven't really leaned into it. There's a lot of talk because I live in Italy for half of the year, and so there's been some talk about me teaching at a high school, I guess, or something like that, teaching art to which is very different over there because like the high schools are geared towards certain things. So like if you're in a art high school, that's your focus. Everything kind of funnels around the idea of art and whatnot.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you took it there's a vocational aspect to all of it, you know, that kind of is there, but still you learn everything. So yeah. No, I've been thinking about doing that and also thinking about doing other teaching, but again, I just don't know. I don't know where to start, and with all the travel, it's hard to.
Yeah. The hardest thing I think about it is coming up with the classes themselves. I have to come up with my own classes, and you know, you have to paint come up with something that people think they're able to paint, but it still's got to be attractive. You know, catch their eye. So it's, you know, that's tough. That's the toughest part of it. The teaching part's the easy part, but
yeah.
Well, when I had you on the show last time, you were showing samples of what you were having everybody.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I've got that
was really cool.
I think I got a thing of posters over here.
It was like a scene.
My little class posters.
Because you definitely want them to feel successful.
Yeah, you definitely want that. Let's see, where do I have that?
How long are your Sam Flex classes? Are they like just 1 day things?
Yeah, there are 3 hours. I've got one tomorrow. See, like this was my last class. This was introduction to watercolor. So I teach the basics, and then there's other ones that I do. Like this was the one I did last time, which was how to do trees and oil paint.
Oh, nice.
And just stuff like that, just to keep it, and then every once in a while there's a painting one where they want to have a complete painting. So I don't like there's the ocean at night. Just a way. Yeah. But it's simple enough. Like this one is easy enough to teach because I've only got 3 hours. And these people have not necessarily taken any art classes. They don't even know how to draw. So I've got to be able to do something that they can feel pretty comfortable with a paintbrush, even though they've never done it before. And but like that painting right there, the original painting, I have to make sure I paint them quick. So I painted that one that one was a fast one. I painted that in 7 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
7 minutes?
Yeah. Well, once I started doing the stuff out at Universal, I was doing the airbrushing out there and whatnot. You have to be fast. So my paintings now, I cut it by 3/4. A painting it took me 40 hours before, I can do it in 10 hours now. I never take more than 10 hours to do a painting now.
Wow.
That
is, I think that's my strongest weakness is that I just take forever. I take forever to do everything. I get in my head, more than anything.
I used to step back a lot and then look and try to go, oh yeah, I need this or puzzle a lot. Now I have the concept. I know what I'm going to do. And you don't have any time to fool around out there at the theme parks. People want their stuff, So I learned just to not fool around, not second guess. Like at the theme park, you didn't sketch, you didn't erase, you just did it, and that is it. And so I took that into the oil painting thing, and it works out fabulously. Just it becomes just believing in yourself. I think that's what it gave me, was really just believe that, hey, you've been doing it for 40 years. I should be able to do it without thinking now. I should be able to just be like a musician and be in the moment and just go, So it was a weird thing to have to go into that to pay my mortgage, to do caricatures, It's not something but man, did I get a lot out of it.
Yeah. Wow.
So
but that's what you did to pay your mortgage. You did caricatures, but you paid your mortgage off doing caricatures, if I remember correctly.
Like some time ago now. Yeah.
As a proud member of the crew that has always believed in you, Paul, I'm really glad that you finally got there as well.
Oh, right. Well, now we can tear the house all up. It doesn't matter. The bank can't do anything about it. So, but Nigel, by the way, I've got a little bit of Bell's palsy on this side. It's not really you can see I've got Bell's palsy on this side of my face a little bit.
I can't even see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't notice it until you pointed it out.
Yeah, it's gone away mostly, but I still have a talk more out of one side and stuff a little bit.
Okay.
But I always make sure I tell my students I reassure them that I'm not having a stroke.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Now, how is it that you're out in Italy half the year? I mean, I'm jealous.
Right?
So
it was back in 2016, I think, or something like that. Still, I know Echo knows Steve Argyle, but do you know Steve Argyle?
The name sounds familiar.
He's a magic. He does a lot with like Magic, The Gathering, and like Legend of Five Rings.
Stephen Cat. You probably met them.
Yeah, you probably met. He's a really, really, really awesome dude. Again,
they're both so good.
Yeah,
they're so nice.
And so it's Stephen Cat, his wife, and so I think they're married. I'm pretty sure they're married. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
I think so.
Yeah. So Steve kept on telling me about. So Steve, Echo, and I all went to Essen to do Spiel in Germany back in 2012. Okay, because
Larry Elmore couldn't do his booth that year, and so somebody, I forget who, called me up and said, "Hey, do you want Larry's booth?" And so we all split it.
Wow.
Yeah. So Larry and I were talking at a show, and he's like, and he's old Larry, and he's like, "So you boys want to go and do Spiel? Because I can't do it this year, and neither can Cirillo, because it was Cirillo and Monty Moore, I think. So none of them could make it, but they had this 3-person booth, and they're like." And he's like, if you guys want to take it over for the year, then I can put you in contact with my people, and we'll get that all taken care of. And I was like, yeah, Larry, I would absolutely love to do that, And so, but I couldn't afford it all by myself. And since it was a 3-person booth, I was like, I called up Echo and I called up Steve, and we all kind of split it and went to Essen. So,
nice.
Which was so cool.
Yeah, that experience made me want to go back to Europe more. And Steve, because he's in the Magic area, he got into these Grand Prix and whatnot that were over there, and he just fell in love with all of it. And he kept on telling me about Luca Comics and Games. And Luca Comics and Games is this gigantic show. It's like 700,000 people. It's the entire city of Lucca, which is a walled city. Which, to be fair, if you haven't looked up Luca Comics and Games, do so. It is an experience. Okay. The whole city turns into a convention. Like literally people will rent out their storefronts to people to do other things. They pack all their shit up, and then they go on vacation, and then somebody else sets up like a comic shop or something out of their place. And the whole city is Luca Comics and Games. Half of the people are Airbnb-ing their places out and stuff like that. But finally Steve talks me into he just talks me into it. He's like, you gotta come. I've never been treated more well than I have been by the people at Luca Comics and Games. And so I called them up. They had me out as a guest. And I showed up, and he was not wrong. Those people, I mean, they call the handlers, they call them guest guest sitters. Okay. So, and it's even got like a baby bottle and a paintbrush, sort of thing. That's their logo. All right. And, Martina, was my handler that year. And honestly, she's never stopped, being that for me in Lucca. Like I remember I was there for a couple of years, and finally I was like, you know what? I really love it here. It's really beautiful. How much would getting an apartment here cost? And Martina found an apartment for me. And I actually rented the apartment without ever seeing it. Yeah, no, and then everything's history from there. Yeah,
wow.
I've held on to that before the pandemic.
They kept inviting me to go out, but I had the kids, and so it was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And so finally, I'm going to go out this year. They didn't invite me out as a guest. They invited me out several years ago as a guest, but they did find a space for me this year on short notice. So which is cool.
A huge thing. They run
which is a huge thing. Yeah, so they did get a space for me, which is nice, and like last minute notice because I'm like, I want to go, I think, and they're like, all right, we'll find you a space, and I don't know how they did, but they did. So,
I've been talking about you for years with them, and they keep on saying, yeah, no, can you get her to come out? And I'm like, yes, I can get her to. I just have to work her. I have to wear her down, like eventually she's going to say yes.
And I'm sleeping under a desk in your 1500s apartment, right, somewhere, hopefully. Please?
Yeah. Probably. And that's the thing. I think the people that normally stay with me are actually they're renting an apartment during that time. So yeah, I should actually have a bed for you if you want.
Oh, not Mickey.
So. Wow, that's awesome. That is really awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That invitation expands to you and your wife. If you guys ever want to go to Italy, just let me know. You can stay in my place.
Oh, wow. I might take you up on that because, I found out, I guess, I don't know, I saw it on a little news program or something that if you're got any Italian blood in you at all, you can apply for dual citizenship as an Italian citizen. And my last name is Vincenti. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, believe me, I'd love to go there. Kathy would love it, man. Oh, man.
Yeah. And honestly, the sooner the better because all of that is beginning to dry up. Given all of the world.
No Italian, but I like spaghetti. So if you need enough spaghetti, can you still apply?
Honestly, and I tell everybody this: what you eat in Italy bears literally no resemblance to Italian food in America.
Yeah,
it is. I disliked Italian food a lot whenever I was there. It's some of my favorite food. It's just.
Oh, yeah. It's different in Italy and different parts of Italy too. I remember.
Oh yeah.
Where you are, so
yeah, where we're in Tuscany, so we're sort of right next to Pisa, about 20 minutes from Pisa, and so you fly into Pisa.
Yeah, my heritage goes back to the 1400s in Florence.
Oh, nice! Oh, wow. Well, then you're in that region then, because Florence is only 45 minutes from.
Yeah,
from Lucca.
I'd imagine there's a lot of people with my last name there,
I believe so. I've seen it around.
Well, it means in Italian, it means the winner, is oddly enough. So I never felt like a winner.
I mean, it's not wrong,
My dad always made me feel like a loser.
Dads do that for some stupid reason.
I don't do that to my kids. My kids are wonderful. I love my kids.
Oh, your kids are wonderful.
Yeah.
Nigel, your kids are wonderful too.
Oh well, thank you. My kids are just
Your daughter's at Origins this weekend, so if you're at Origins, go buy her.
Zaya's at Origins. It's my eldest, and so I always tell everybody that when I never intended to be a father, so when I did, I just decided to try to make people that I want to hang out with, and I did. And literally they are exactly the people that I would choose to hang out with. And I think that's the best way to raise a person. So
that is definitely the best way to raise a person.
My daughter is one who got me the job there teaching. She's one of the assistant managers at the art store there.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome.
She's trying to get back to SCAD. She was going to SCAD for a while.
Oh, okay.
She's trying to get back over there, and I hope she can someday. It's just the rent is out. It's off the charts, so she's trying to save up, but it's a long slog.
SCAD is good. They have. I've heard that they have AI on their curriculum now, though.
Oh Lord!
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. So
Me, I'm still slogging it away with the oils. That's
yes, you are.
Although I love airbrush, I love working airbrush. I got to say, but.
Do you teach online at all?
Pardon me?
Do you do any online teaching?
I have not tried that yet. Believe me, I've got another offer. It seems like every time I turn around, somebody's offering me to teach at their facility. In Mount Dora, there's a artist I know out there wants me to come teach out there. So and the money's good. I mean, I average between, one job or the other, I average about 125, 150 an hour, somewhere in there.
Nice.
Cool.
So, so it's worth it. And it's easier than doing the shows. The shows, man. God.
Oh, they're hard.
Oh,
but if you YouTube videos of you painting and stuff and narrated them, then Nigel's dog Mo could just sit and watch
there
them.
You go.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do a Bob Ross related thing, Mo is your number one.
Mo would subscribe, be your number one subscriber right there.
I'll tell you. No, well, I mean, I've thought about it because the classes go pretty quick. I mean, I could definitely do. I could do if I had a crew. I could definitely do a half-hour show. There'd be no problem doing that. Because, like I said, the paintings, I can do. Most of the paintings I've done for my class, I do 30 minutes or less. But
So it just blows my mind.
So it's
there's no.
After a while, you got the
Here I am. 3.
Now that does not apply to figurative, though. Figurative, I still can't do that quick.
It takes me all day to ink a piece.
Yeah.
So
figurative, with a tree, I can, who knows the specific shape of the trunk or the leaves? You can be all over the map as long as you're still being a tree.
Right.
One little corner of the mouth is the wrong way, and now you've given your model Bell's palsy.
Yeah. Right.
So you got to pay strict attention to all the little nuances when you're talking about a face or hands and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, this part of the lip can be the pain in the butt.
Oh yeah.
And some people it goes down and the lip kind of folds over into it, and other people it kind of pops up. And
sometimes I don't know if I paint it painted and it just looks pasted on no matter what you do, and you're like, why are you blending in?
One of the things I've learned is I've started drawing the lip as one giant thing. And then adding the lower part of this lip here in afterwards, and then finally this, and so that you have those little connective bits that are still there. And so it's all about the shape, the overall shape. Think of it as like a contour drawing lesson in a lot of ways, and that's I've been doing that lately, and it's been kind of working out pretty nice. And it helps me to bridge this idea of having open mouths, like it's so difficult to draw an open mouth versus it is closed mouth and stuff like that. So that seemed to have been the secret to me. Maybe I'm not explaining anything that everybody already knows, but whatever.
Yeah. Teeth.
Sorry, Paul.
I said teeth can kind of throw things off, if you don't.
You don't want to define too many of them. You know what I mean?
No, they should almost be done as a unit. You want to define the bottom edge, the top of the gum line, and then if you're drawing it, man, I mean, the faintest little hint of a line, you don't even need to draw it all the way down. You can
all about
from the top of the gum or the bottom up, but it's really the contours around the top.
It's like the front two teeth with a little dip in the middle, and then like half of the second teeth in is about as far as I ever go.
Yeah. And it's all about just light shadowing, I think, giving the contour.
Otherwise you end up with this weird toothy grin that's just not attractive.
Well, you get those people, those horrifying tattoos that you see with all the like teeth.
Well, the teeth,
like, individual, exactly. It's like, what happened? Don't do that.
Don't stop smiling at me. You're scaring me. You can't get out of their face. All right, well, we got about 2 more minutes. 3 more minutes.
Wow.
So.
Well, thanks for letting me barge in.
Hey, no worries, man. It's good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a year.
Nice to meet you too.
So while you're here, you have to give some advice to all the artists out there listening. It has to be the best advice you've ever given.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, me. Oh, well, my advice would be to just keep drawing. Don't try to draw or just keep doing art, whatever it is you do, and don't try to be like anybody else. Just go with how it makes you feel. Don't compare yourself. Comparisons are a nightmare. Don't do that. Just be yourself. But mostly, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, man. Practice. And that's just practice. Once you get that 10,000 hours in, then you're on your way. Yeah.
I have a picture of myself and Arlo Guthrie and a poster I did of him and hanging in front of Carnegie Hall. And we had actually moved to Florida, and we had to fly back up so I could get a picture in front of Carnegie Hall. Because I'm like, God damn it, I got to Carnegie Hall. I'm going to get a picture of this. So I'm like, look, I got to fucking Carnegie Hall. God damn it. So that was awesome.
Well, right on, man. Nigel, you're looking good. You still got most of your hair, damn it.
I do.
I'm starting to lose mine over here.
That's okay. I don't have any down here, so it's a trade-off.
So Nigel, what is your world-defining advice for everyone?
I think that it's right along those same lines as what Paul was saying. Be you. Like I tell everybody, like, don't try to be the next Larry Elmore. We already got a Larry Elmore. You know what I mean? Like, just be whatever your name is. We don't have that yet, and whatever that vision is will be accepted. I mean, the world needs art,
Well, it's funny how somebody that's good at it can doubt themselves. I mean, Mark Hadley, right?
I think so.
Mark Hadley. Anyway, he's got a real specific style, very horror style. And he didn't know, for instance, what glazing was. And I showed him how to do glazing. And he goes, yeah, because I want to be able to paint and more like you. And I said, no, you don't. I said, you got your totally distinct style. You just keep going with that. Technique's one thing. You can learn that. But I don't want you to paint like me. And I certainly couldn't paint like you if I tried. So, be yourself.
Yeah. And again, you bring up a really great point. Technique is key. You know what I mean? Like, the idea is that, like, we can all share our techniques with one another, and we should, like that is one thing about the fantasy illustration sphere versus like comics and other things and stuff like that I have always loved is the sense of camaraderie that comes along with being a fantasy artist. Donato, I remember at one point in time, I asked him how he did something. He literally broke out in paintbrushes and showed me how to do a thing. And that doesn't happen in other industries. And I feel like that should, you know what I mean? We should all be sharing how we do things, but we should all be individuals as well, Right. But we should all have the knowledge.
And they have those wonderful things like the Smart School and stuff now that people can go and sign up and go to. And it's just awesome to get to know other artists. So that's my advice, would get to know other artists. I'm very bad at hanging out with people because of my face blindness, but definitely go to Paul's party or, go hang out with other artists when you get a chance. So.
No, I mean, it's, I got about it's not till next, March or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it's like February or March.
I'll give it a shot. The only problem is I've had in the past, the last couple of times is it's so long. The hours are so incredibly long. I'm wondering if anybody will show, because it's brutal, the hours at MegaCon.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you always had a good turnout, though. Do you ever have?
Always had.
Yeah, I'll definitely go for it this year. Actually, I was talking about trying to get my daughter and I to split a table this year. I haven't done a fantasy art show in way before the pandemic. I stopped.
Oh yeah.
So I had gallery stuff going on, and I had gallery work and the outdoor mainstream shows. So I was busy doing that a lot. So I'm glad not to be doing that anymore. The weather kills you.
Honestly though, like, I think that MegaCon would do well to have your art back in it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the thing is that like that whole environment has begun to sort of blossom and become much more diverse.
Oh yeah.
As weird as that sounds, that like a sci-fi fantasy sort of anime, like that needs diversity, but like it does, like everything needs more diversity.
Yes, it does.
All right, I got to cut us off so the next one can come on. So thank you guys both for coming on and chatting, and thank you all. Thank you all for listening to The Professional Artist on 107.7, and I'll see you all next week.
Right.
Bye.